Okay, so picture the scene. It's 1976, you're sitting around the house, you're a little bit bored, you don't know what to do with yourself, and then all of a sudden in comes Uncle Matt. And he brings this thing. And he says, "Don't worry everyone, I've brought a party in a box." And of course the big question now is, what exactly has he brought? On the side of the box is the word Sopic. Inside the box we've got these individually numbered, brightly coloured plastic discs. They look a little bit like drinks coasters. And in this section of the case I've got an index which details what is contained on each of these discs. Now for anyone that doesn't read Japanese or hasn't already figured out the purpose of this, I'll tell you this is a portable karaoke system. Yeah, don't all switch off at once. If you want to hang around I'll show you exactly how this works. So of course the first job is to look for a song to sing along to. We've got 100 tracks on here, there's 50 discs with a track on either side, and if we look through the titles I can see there at 127 we've got the Green Green Grass of Home, so we'll pick that one out. So I'll just get disc 127, and along the top of each of the discs is the title, and it's not that one of course, obviously. There we go, that's the Green Green Grass of Home. Of course, this is all down to my amazing Japanese abilities that I can read this, and nothing at all to do with Google Translate. So that's the song that we want to sing, so we'll put that to one side. So of course now we need the lyrics, and those are contained in these booklets that are neatly stored in the bottom here. These are identical to one another as far as the information on the inside goes, so you can see there we've got the lyrics for each of these songs. And since we picked out this one, let's have a look what it is. D23, so we just need to find 23 in here. And there we go. Those are the lyrics to the song. Now, these booklets are the ones that you'd hand around at a party. There's the main booklet back here, which has got the same information in it, but just on larger sheets, and they're contained in plastic. So this is the one that you'd pass around, perhaps use more often than not. Now I mentioned that this was D23, and the D signifies that this comes from set D. There are multiple sets, but this set was particularly well presented, very clean with all the documentation included. A really nice little box as well, and this part here, that's supposed to fold around like that, so you can just have the index on the top. And if we just turn it to one side, it says Cap Record D. So, of course, these things are known as Cap records for rather obvious reasons. And it's played back with one of these. Now, I'll get it out of the box in a second. I just want to mention along the bottom here, though, it says Japan Metals and Chemicals Co. Limited, or JMC. Now that doesn't sound like the kind of company that would bring out a karaoke device, and in fact JMC is still around nowadays and don't really seem to have any foot in the electronics business at all. So let's just get it out of the box here. We've got a nice carrying case and a microphone, little earphone, an AC adapter, instruction booklet, and a nice little orange piece for the end of that microphone there as well. Okay, so we'll get the disc player out of its carrying case, and this might ring a bell. If you've been following this channel for a while, that might look familiar. We've got a speaker on the top, an on-off switch, volume control, and if we just open this section up, this is the battery compartment, because you can also run this thing on 4 AA's as well as that AC adapter. And the records go on the bottom here. So this is the cap that comes with it that protects it, but if we just to get one of these other cap records like this one here, it just goes on there like that, and the device is played in this position. Now inside the bottom here, this section revolves. That is the stylus, and as it revolves it moves in towards the centre of the disc. Now I mentioned that this thing might look familiar. So this is called the Sopic, and previously on this channel I have featured the Panapic. Now at the time we looked at this, we couldn't really figure out why it was called Panapic. It makes more sense now because it comes from National, of course Matsushita, National Panasonic. So if we can imagine the Pana bit being for Panasonic and the pic bit, well, that's coming from here. So this was Panasonic's version of the Sopic, and this was a licensed product. So the Sopic was the original that came out in the mid-70s. This was the late 70s, and I don't know if you remember how this one worked. It used books like this. Now this is also a karaoke device, so inside here each song has a nice picture to accompany it, but also we've got the lyrics and we've got the disc for the device to play. So you sing along with the music, which is played back via this. This just gets placed on top of the disc on the page, and you plug your microphone into here and you can sing along. It's often quite tricky trying to find the history of a product that was made just for the Japanese domestic market, and it doesn't help in this case that Sopic is also the Selangor Oil Palm Industries Corporation, a Croatian ex-footballer, a liquid detergent, and a village in Serbia. Fortunately, the Karaoke Industry of Japan's website does have a page dedicated to the history of karaoke. Now, incidentally, there are two separate Japanese chaps that are generally credited with inventing the karaoke machine, independently from one another, around about 1969. They both used devices that played 8-track tapes, and neither of these people patented their ideas, and years later in the 1980s, some chap in the Philippines managed to get that karaoke patent, which then earns them a fortune each year. But one of those original Japanese blokes, this is the one who actually sold the first machines over there at the beginning of the 1970s, he mentioned he didn't consider himself to be an inventor, so he didn't patent anything because he'd actually just stuck together a few things that already existed: a car stereo, a coin box, and an amplifier. Now, one other interesting thing mentioned in this article is that the idea came to him after recording a backing tape for an event that he couldn't attend, and he put this together for the president of a steel company. Now, maybe that is the start of that connection between the Japanese metals and chemicals company and karaoke. Anyway, back to the chart, and I've copied across the first section of it, thrown it in the translator, and this shows that the very first commercial karaoke machines went on sale in 1971. The first one being the handmade 8 Duke, and I've highlighted that at the top left in orange. Now, the Sopic Cap record system is shown here as being introduced in 1975, so this really is quite early. It's just 4 years after those first hand-built machines. From what I read, in Japan, karaoke only really started to blow up around 1976, so the Sopic system really was there right near the beginning and riding that first wave of popularity. I've put some batteries in it. Fortunately, it is working, but there is a bit of a problem with it. At the moment, it sounds like this. Yeah, the audio keeps cutting out because there's some oxidization on this volume pot. So I need to be able to get to the back of that so I can spray some contact cleaner on it. Now, fortunately, along the base here, there are 4 screws, so it just looks a matter of taking those out and then removing the inside. Okay, well that came out easily. In fact, the speaker came out a bit easier than it should have done because this is supposed to be stuck to the top, but the adhesive that goes around there has just come loose, so I'll stick it back in when I put it back inside the case. But the volume part I need to get to is there. I'll still need to unscrew that to get to the other side of it to spray the contacts. But the construction of this thing is really quite impressive. I mean, look how much metal is in here. This is a well-made piece of equipment, but let's just get that volume pot out first and then we can have a look at it. And there we go. Now, I'll spray that with some contact cleaner in a second. There are still some wires going up into the top here. Those just lead off to this power LED, so we'll leave those in position. Right, so I've got my contact cleaner, and all I need to do is just spray a bit in here, well, quite a bit, liberally, really. I've got some stuff down here to catch any overspill. It'll evaporate as well, so there's no danger of this damaging anything. It's just a matter now of working this volume pot up and down, making sure that the contacts are clean. I think that should do it. Let's find out. Well, as far as fixes go, you don't get much simpler than that. Just a bit of contact cleaner sprayed on there. We've got no crackles at all now. One thing I've noticed here, as usual, the motor has a date on it. It's the 27th of December, and then 70, and the last digit, very obtuse angle, but I can make it out as a 6. So December 1976. Now, whilst I've got this open, it's a good opportunity to be able to see how it all operates on the inside. However, if I was to play this disc, you can't see through that, so you wouldn't be able to see what the stylus is doing. Fortunately, it did come with this clear disc, which enables you to have a look through the bottom as well. But just to show that the disc isn't the thing that's revolving, it's actually the mechanism, I'm going to put a sticker on here because it does have a bit of an optical illusion effect. It looks like you've got a revolving disc. So if we put a line on there, you'll be able to see that that's not moving. And we'll just pop this on here and face it towards the camera. So I think you can make that out there. That's my line of tape. Now this sticker here, that is actually on the mechanism on the inside, so you can see how it all moves in a second. So we'll press play. This is a demonstration of various percussion sound effects. Not the most interesting disc, but at least you can see how the mechanism works a little bit better. This is the motor here. There's the drive shaft. It's going on to this rubber wheel here. Well, it's plastic wheel with a rubber ring around the outside. There's another smaller ring on the bottom, and that's coming into contact with this large wheel here, and then that goes through into the bottom and that spins around the whole stylus mechanism. But as you can see, it really is very well put together. I mean, this is a quality piece of equipment. I'm just peeling a bit of this double-sided tape off because I intend to replace this before I stick it back inside the case. Right, so we've got the playback working fine on this now, but the next question is, how do you use it as a karaoke machine? Because if you look at the inputs on the side here, we've got a power in and an earphone out. No mic in, and there's no other socket on it anywhere. And the answer to that is no doubt this that was also in the box. This is an FM microphone. If we look at the wire that's on here, you can see that's an antenna. It's not designed to be plugged into anything. And if we look at the options available on here, well, we've got off position there, and then mic there, and FM mic here, and then auxiliary there. So it does multiple things. Now, if you were to just turn it into the mic mode, there's a socket on the bottom here, so you would be able to wire it into something else via that, but not this device because it doesn't have the appropriate input. So this is no doubt supposed to be used with the FM mic mode. By the way, the auxiliary at the bottom there, that also lets you plug something into here to then be transmitted out via this, out over FM, and then you could pick it up on a normal radio. And in fact, this is a quality piece of kit here, because if you look at the bottom, it's made by Marantz, although it is especially for the Sopic device. Now here, we've got the frequency adjustment. This is to adjust the FM output, so 76 up to 90 megahertz. And I've got no idea whether this thing is on when I turn it into the FM mic mode, because there's no LED anywhere on it. And also, if I try and talk over it or make any noise, it's just not coming through to here at all. So I'm going to have to test this with something else. Fortunately, I've got a couple of Japanese radios in the house, so I'll be able to find something that will pick up the frequency this is transmitting on, if it is transmitting, and then if we know this is working, then we can perhaps retune it to communicate with this thing. Oh, by the way, I have swapped the batteries out in this. In the bottom here, it just takes one AA there. So I'm hoping it's working. Let's get a radio out and find out. And if this is working, it should be relatively easy to find out what frequency it's transmitting on, because we won't hear this annoying hiss. It should just come through as silence. Ah, I think we might have hit it. But, oh no. Is that it? 77.9? No, close. 78. Let's try that. Hello, check, check, check. Yeah, I think we're through there now. Let's turn this up. Okay, mic check 1 2. What is this? Yeah, it's working fine. So I've been reading through my instructions for the Sopic S100, and it turns out this thing doesn't have an FM receiver in it at all. No, the mic is designed just to tune into your radio, and this is designed to have its audio either output through the built-in speaker or via that earphone socket, and there was one of those little earphones included inside the box. So of course you could mix those two things together externally. You could send your audio out from this into something like this with an auxiliary input, and then you could plug your microphone into the mic socket on the front here, and I can mix them together like that. But yeah, it wasn't as sophisticated as I thought. However, this is the S100. That's the first one. The S200 did have a mic input on it, and it just so happens that the Panapic from National was based on the S200, and therefore, as well as the audio out, we've got a mic in on here. So we can actually plug a mic into this one and use this as an all-in-one karaoke device. So I think we should switch over to this. And I want to just play you a few samples from these discs, just to give you an idea as to the quality of the background music. I don't know if you recognised any songs that were being played there. I certainly didn't, and in fact when I looked through these to try and find which songs I did recognise, I played through them all, and there's only a few that have tunes that I know, and that's not surprising. Of course, these are songs that were popular in Japan, and they go back, some of them, to the 1950s all the way through up to the 70s, and as someone who wasn't brought up in Japan with the history there, these are unfamiliar to me. There are a couple though that I do know. Now, there's My Way, which is infamous for people being shot when they're singing, and I have previously sung that one, well, sung, in one of these other karaoke demonstrations. And we mentioned the Green Green Grass of Home. Now, that one, I managed to find it by looking at the name of the writer of the song, but it actually has it wrong on here. It says Cusley Putman, but I put that in and it corrected it to Curly Putman, and that brought me through to the song. Of course, the titles of these aren't always a direct translation as well. Now, there's a couple of others that I managed to find in a similar way, because if you look through the book here, you can find the names of the people who wrote the song, and if those are in English, there's a good chance that that will be something that I'm slightly familiar with. The truth is, there are only a couple in here, and there's one, if we get this one here, which I'm unfamiliar with, if I can get it out, but it's more famous in France. There's a song called Champs-Élysées. Now, the Champs-Élysées was a hit. This wasn't. This is called Waterloo Road. But because of the names of the people that wrote it on here, that's how I managed to identify that. So I think we'll have a go with Waterloo Road. Okay, in true 1976 style, I've got the lyrics here on my phone. Now, just one thing I wanted to mention before I start off. I'm sure some people might think that perhaps if I put this in the auxiliary mode, I'd be able to feed the audio in from the disc and then also transmit it out over to a radio while speaking into the microphone. No, it doesn't work that way. Just auxiliary only or mic only, but you can't mix the two things together. So what I'm doing here, I've just plugged the mic into the back of this one, so we're not using the FM side of it at all, just using it as a normal mic, and my voice will be coming out through this speaker here along with the music. One thing to say about this though, I realised that, you know, nowadays you get those karaoke devices with a little ball that would follow along, or the text would highlight the bit that you're supposed to sing. If you're unfamiliar with the song, it's a little bit tricky to know the speed that you should be going at. But this one, I've listened to it a couple of times and I think I've got a bit of a gist for it now, so let's give it a go. And I should mention this song has a whole kind of chirpy chappy Cockney music hall type vibe to it, or at least it did on the versions that I've listened to, so I'll try my best to emulate that, but I'm not great with accents. Walking down the street today, I saw a girl across the way. I asked her where she's going, she said come with me. She took me down this avenue where I know the folks she knew, and then we stopped and chatted as we passed the time away. Down Waterloo Road, down Waterloo Road. Friday night, Saturday, any night or any day, you'll find what you're looking for down Waterloo Road. I think that's enough of that. There's just one last job to do before I go. We might as well create the thumbnail for this video. So we need to take this out of the scene because it doesn't belong with this set, and we might as well pop the disc back inside the box, keep it all neat and tidy, bring in the original Sopic S100 and the lyrics book as well, and there you have it. That is your mid-1970s karaoke party in a box. I hope you've enjoyed having a look at this here today, but that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.